I would love you to do is hit the like, hit the love, hit the share button as we welcome into the stream this morning Mr. James Perryman, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, do you know what's really winding me up? The fact that I don't have my webcam and the fact that I don't have my microphone. I'm like, this is definitely, I know now in this environment how the actual real TV presenters feel.
Yeah.
Well, felt at the start of lockdown when they started having to because I've now gone from my studio in my bedroom with all the beautiful, clear camera and the clear sound to working on my laptop. And I'm like, oh, it's not what I want to look like. Good morning. How are you, my darling?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. Thank you for joining
thank
me
you for
in my
inviting me.
location. So, James, tell us, first and foremost, what are you shaking your bum to this Friday?
What am I shaking my bum to? I'm a bit of a fan of Will Smith. It's got to be said. All over music, films, literally.
Same.
I'm the kind of guy that will sit there watching Pursuit of Happiness, and the bit where he gets the job, I'm like, oh, I've got something in my eye. I've, I used to cry at Lassie. I'm.
I remember, Wallace was very much like, I don't really want to watch Will Smith in a film. I can't see Will Smith and not see The Fresh Prince. I can't watch Will Smith and not see Men in Black. So, I was like, no, what was it? It wasn't the.
There was Pursuit of Happiness. The other amazing one he did was £7.
£7.
What a film!
Watched that and he was like, "Wow, that's completely changed my perspective on, his acting abilities because it was such a straight performance and it was just beautifully done." In fact, I'm going to rewatch that over the weekend as I rested.
Yes. So great. But his music is, I love it. It's that proper, just get you going.
Happy. You can't not listen to a Will Smith song and not just feel happy.
No, totally.
I'm here for Will Smith today, James. I'm here for Will Smith. Which Will Smith song are we dancing to?
It's got to always be Millennium. Always. It's
Millennium.
Just totally.
And I like it.
I'm in the car, and it doesn't matter what the weather is. The window is going down, and I'm sorry, everyone who I live with. You're listening to this with me.
I'm not sorry, everybody.
Totally.
I have not heard that song for the longest time, and even thinking about that song just made me happy.
It's just a tune. It's a tune. It is.
Right, James. So we have a very loose format on the show. It's a very loose format. It's just a couple of mates getting ready for the work day together. And it is so lovely as one of my friends to be on the show. So tell everybody, how do we meet? How do we come across each other?
How do we meet? We met about a year ago, pretty much, at the wonderful place of Blackpool. Yes. We were both presenting at Brad Burton's Now What Live event.
Yeah.
And you I think you were up before me. You were definitely up before me. I remember because you then featured in the talk that I did.
Yeah, I did.
Completely by chance. But yeah, we met there. You did your thing on the stage, which was fantastic. And I remember then I went up and I talked about kind of communication with a sales slant, but how do we communicate to get a yes and to get sales? And I remember as I was talking about the 4 types of people we have to communicate with every day, as I got to a certain type of person, I was walking the stage and I walked right in front of you. And I was just like, Dani is this person. You are that personality. You are that behavior. And literally as I stood there and went, who do we know like this? Everyone just pointed at you. So that's where we met. And that's where we kind of agreed to do a bit of work together as well, like 12 months ago. And obviously that's really come to life recently. But yeah, a year ago, it feels like yesterday. It really does.
It feels like yesterday, but then I see all of the things that both of us have achieved within our businesses within the last 12 months. And also, it's a lifetime as well. The rate at which you've been building and growing the things that because you wear multiple hats, you've got multiple businesses. So the things that you have been growing, putting together and building over the course of 12 months would take, lesser people years to pull together and launch with the quality that you've done. And it's been such a joy to be your friend and grow during that time as well. Because I remember having that conversation backstage with you, and you was with one of your business partners, Chris, and you was like, here's Chris, and we'd like you to, come and be involved in this thing that we're doing. And I'll let you tell people, what those things are in just a sec. Oh God, listen, that squeaky, ridiculous.
You like that squeaky toy?
It's like properly, like I'm channeling, I'm serving you like Marge Simpson realness right now. But yeah, it's been such a joy to see where we both were then and where we both are now. Because at that point in time, Brad Burton, UK's #1 motivational business speaker. I have to say that after his name every single time I say it. He'd been mentoring me since the January, and one of the first conversations that me and him had was, I'd heard him say, and he had said whilst I was in the room, that you can't be a fat motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And I was like, watch me.
Here I come.
And I was like here for it. And he ended up putting me on his stage as one of his headline like speakers for Now What Live, which is his personal development and business event. It's brilliant event. And it's been an interesting journey. So tell us about what you've been up to over the past 12 months. What have you been up to since we saw each other last?
Yes. God, yeah, that's scary, isn't it? Since we saw each other last. What have I been up to? So I already had a business that I've had for a number of years, which is what I do a lot of my coaching and training and I guess ultimately kind of speaking under, business called Momentous. And that's where I really kind of help small businesses find their motivation, find their confidence, find their self-awareness to communicate effectively. And so I've been doing a lot of that over the last year, and it's gone up and down, as you can imagine, with everything that's gone on, particularly the last few months. But also because when we first met and since then, I've been building and preparing to launch a second business called My People Club, which launched in March. And as you said, we wanted that to launch with a really professional feel to it. We didn't want it to launch and it feel rough around the edges and not quite ready. It needed to be slick. This was going out to HR professionals, professional coaches, professional trainers. And so I've not slept as much in the last year as I would have done any other year.
I feel you, brother. I feel you, brother.
Yeah. And it's been hard work. And those few months, the first few months of this year, kind of building up to launch and launching were kind of relentless. There was real sacrifices to make of time, needing people in kind of important relationships with me to be with me, be behind me, and kind of, I think, forgive me in advance for having just to put a lot of energy into launching a new business. And wow, the last 3 months have been unexpected, I would say. Do you know what? I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
I have learned a lot about business from a perspective of having to react really quickly. I know everyone use the word pivot, and I get what it means. But everyone uses it. And for me, it is, for some it is pivoting, but it's about reacting, and it's about stepping back and becoming self-aware and saying, right, what does this mean for me as a human being? What does it mean for me personally? Family, are they safe? Are they well? Am I doing what I can to protect them? Are they looking after themselves?
Yeah.
And then what does it mean, particularly when you're self-employed and a business owner? What does it mean for business? Is this going to affect my model as I know it today, or have I got to react? Have I got to do something different? And for My People Club, it all happened at the wrong time. This was a business aimed at people who were in the HR profession who suddenly got really busy furloughing people, got busy working out, sadly, kind of redundancies. What do they do with their business? People being furloughed themselves. So Chris and I really had to think, what do we do? This isn't the plan we had. We didn't know this was coming. But suddenly we launched a shop. We put a shop front on our website. It wasn't even in our plan to do that. We sat here in kind of where I've got a big whiteboard next to me, and we drew out the master plan of My People Club, and shop didn't appear on that. But now it's there, and it's selling like mini coaching courses. So I look back and think this wasn't the year I expected. But personally as well. No, oh God, no. But physically as well, I think the first couple of weeks of of lockdown, I thought, right, what am I going to do from a business perspective? I've got people around me saying, yeah, I'm on furlough, and I'm going to use this time to re-energize and get my head back in my game. I had people thinking, I don't know what to do, or just saying, I'm not going to worry about it, because we thought it might only be a few weeks at that point. We didn't think it would be 3 months. I took a couple of weeks to get my head straight and then get back into my zone, put some structure in, keep to the Monday to Friday, and weekends if I had to, but keep that structure in place almost while everyone else around me was being a bit more disruptive.
Yeah.
But I thought that's important to keep that structure. But what I want to do, I can't get to the gym. I'm the idiot that goes to a circuit class at 6:30 in the morning with the other idiots like me. And I couldn't do that. And I tried doing something at 6:30 in the morning on telly, but that didn't work. I need people around me. I've got to have other lunatics around me saying, come on, James, you can do this, like another burpee, another wall ball, whatever it is. So I just found a different routine, and I put more focus into what I'm eating and drinking, and tried not to slip into the bad habits that working from home every single day brings.
Right.
And it's great. I've over the last week, I lost 7 pounds from real focus. Yeah. And I got nominated for the 25 push-ups in 25 days challenge for PTSD as well, which I thought, okay, I'll do this then. And actually, from a strength perspective, I did it. And yesterday was my 25th day. And I went live with it. I did it live on Facebook. I said, you know what? I did. So I said, I'm going to go live, but if I'm going live, you've got to donate. So I set up a page and said, look, PTSD UK, great charity, for people. And I know people who have been in the forces, and they know what the link is, and they've seen friends go through it, not come out the other end.
Yeah.
So I just said, I'm going to blast out as many push-ups as I can. Yeah. Literally until I can't push my body up anymore.
How many?
And I managed 37.
You are an animal.
Yeah.
You're so
and
strong,
I just
everybody.
collapsed as on a heap. But yeah,
I can't even do one. So there's a lot more of me to push up off the floor, though.
Bless you. There's less of me now than there was 3 months ago. It's been getting easier as time's gone on.
That's the thing, isn't it? So that's a really interesting thing that you say there, and it's been one of my saving graces since the start of lockdown, is keeping some sort of routine, even if it's not the routine that you were formerly used to, just some sort of routine to hold you together. And I think, even for the kids, not having any routine has been more of their kind of undoing than it has been, not that they're undone, but the thing that they've struggled most with is the lack of routine. Because I've been, hustling, keeping the business not afloat, but keeping the business moving forward and all of that sort of stuff. So having that routine is so, so important. So when I first heard you speak, you were talking about, communication, and we were talking about personality profiling, across the quadrants, and when you're sort of starting to talk about high level personality profiling, it falls on a quadrant, doesn't it? For the most part, you can go deeper, like on BTI and all of that sort of stuff, but you get results driven people, details driven people, people driven people, and fire starters. And of course, when you were talking about those 4 types of people, I came up as a fire starter, which is not new news to me, considering considering that was something that I used to teach. When I was in sales training, across the quadrant. One of the things that I found at the time, I learned this when I was really early 20s, when I first started learning it to teach. And I always, because I was this fire starter, or depending on what you're looking at, a yellow personality, or depending on what else you're looking at, they give it all different colours, names, gemstones, don't they, across the colours. I found when I first started to look at that, found that the people around me made it really prescriptive. So because I was a fire starter, they would look at, the benefits of being a results-driven fire starter like me, but also, in my mind, I would look at the flaws or potential weaknesses of that personality type, and beat myself up with those like a stick. So things like not finishing what you start and all of that sort of stuff would be the things that I stopped taking myself seriously for. And I kind of became that thing. And that's a real danger when you start learning about those sorts of things, that actually it's a self-awareness exercise and not a prescription exercise. So if you know,
completely.
So when did you first come across, because you are, you get called the communications king. I love that, like, we're the king and the queen here today. Where did you first start coming across those sorts of concepts?
So that was absolutely within kind of my corporate career. So we're going back, crikey, 11, 12 years. I used to work for O2 and whatever it's been called, Cellnet, BT Cellnet, Telefonica. I worked there for a long time, and I always had an interest in people, and I did a lot of jobs while I was there. And I think it was when I was really had my feet grounded in project management and managing matrix teams that I realized I had to understand how to motivate people. They didn't work for me. So it wasn't, it's the wrong phrase, but I couldn't use a stick to or be in, have more control over their goals and objectives. I had to take a softer approach, and I had to win people over, motivate them, get them to collaborate with me. And I realized back then, right at the beginning, I realized that I had to use and leverage my own personality and behavior and where I'm good to do that. And that was cool. I had this analogy that I could work with people by putting my arm around them, but maybe giving them a little punch in the ribs at the same time, just to get them.
Giving them a little thing.
that little, rubbing the head that we used to hate as a kid. But that was my analogy, that I could do that with people and they would get it. They would get that I was with them. But I kind of learned as I went through my career, and as I moved up through the business, I learned that actually trying to be people's friend doesn't have to be the way all the time. You don't have to be liked. As long as you're respected, that's important. And it's funny, I went for an interview with someone, and it was quite a senior role, and she interviewed me, and she kind of sat back and she said, I get the impression what's important to you, James, is that you like to be liked. That's your way of working with people, motivating people. You leverage that relationship so that you build not necessarily a friendship, but a real camaraderie.
Yeah.
What I'm worried about is, in this job, you're going to be working with directors of the business, people in their leadership teams, and they don't have time to be a friend, but you've got to get them on board, and you're going to have to challenge them, and you're going to have to get them to think differently. And I'm worried that if I try, if I recruit you and I get you to do that, and it's not true to you and who you are, you might start becoming someone you don't like, and you don't enjoy the job. And that was a real moment for me. I remember going away from that interview and thinking, you're absolutely right. How would I get someone to do something if I didn't have a relationship with them? And I remember the very next day I was on whatever the pre-version was of Teams, and I was on there with some people that worked for me, and we were talking with some other people in the business. And one of the guys who worked for me sent me a message, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm great." He said, "You're just being kind of like slightly different. You're really driven with these people. It's like you're kicking their ass." But and just thought, I'm doing it already. That comment that the lady made went into there.
Giving a key. When you start to become self-aware, and you start to, and
absolutely,
it is a lot of this. When you're leveling up, it really is about unlocking something within yourself, as opposed to somebody saying, because you could have taken that and gone to a different place with it and think that, they don't think I'm ready, then I'm not ready to make that step. And actually what you allowed it to do, when you have those constructive conversations, the quicker you get your head around that, how do I make this work for me? What have I learned in this conversation? How do I make positive changes off of the back of this conversation? And then you go and do that. Actually, that's your level up, isn't it? Diane, I was just saying, your interview did you a huge favor. That was a massive favor.
Yes.
Good morning. She's right on time. I'm going to say good morning. Can't see everybody. Let me lift you up so you can see. Say good morning. Good morning. Right.
Good morning. We met on Wednesday as well.
Absolutely. Right. Go put your pants on and go in there.
Bless her.
Everyone stopped wearing pants in our house.
Yeah, I suddenly thought, please don't ask me to stand up.
I have. It's like pants roulette on this show. It's like pants roulette. I am wearing pants this morning, so I've got my Rupert the Bear pants on. I'm going to prove it. I got my Rupert the Bear pants on this morning.
Loving them.
I like how you're definitely not standing up though.
And they, yeah, you got to pay money for that. They would go with your new Dr. Martin boots. Those would.
Yes, they would. And my yellow Dr.
Totally
Martin. You were the first person to see my
I know.
arrived
I know.
as we were on a live, because we've done a little bit of work together, haven't we?
We have.
So, but I'm not ready to talk about that because I'm really enjoying this bit of the conversation. So
Okay.
you went away. You went away having had that conversation. You've gone for this. You've gone for this role, and you came back, and already off of the back of that, you've done some reflection and started to just tweak the way that you were leading your team, and actually finding that you were getting even better results. Right?
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I can see Yvonne's put kind of a question there about, were people receptive to me leading, or did I find some people felt threatened? And I think there is a risk of that happening if you try and be someone you're not. If you try and become someone you kind of see getting outcomes that you want to get, and you try and emulate them, the risk is you won't be authentic, you won't be genuine, and your people won't know how to take you, and they will feel threatened, they'll feel confused, and they won't follow you. They won't want to be led by you. You've got to tweak, and you've got to adapt, and you've got to bring out these new kind of characteristics, the things that you're becoming more self-aware of. Bring them out, but in a way that's still true to you. Because if you're true to your values, those 3 or 4 values that you live your life by and you lead your team by, then they'll shine through. And if there's times where you say, guys, we've got to have a bit of an uncomfortable conversation here, because we've got to get to the right outcome. We've got to move past this thing we're in right now. So let's just have an open and frank conversation. And I want you all to be involved. That's how I would do it genuinely, rather than say, this is crap, this is what I want, go and do it. That's not my style.
Or they're not feel powerful enough, not feel empowered enough to be able to say, like, this conversation is going to be difficult, and you might not enjoy some aspects of it, but the reason why I'm having this conversation with you is because it's out of love. It's out of, I want us to do well as a team. I want us to be the best we can be. I want you to be the best you can be. And at the moment, that's not happening. So it's interesting. One of the reasons why I came out of corporate, James, is not everybody's like you. Like I struggled by the end of my kind of corporate career with teams that didn't want to be led, because it was outside of their way of thinking. They wanted to be managed, but they didn't want to be micromanaged, and nobody really knew what they wanted. And I just wanted to lead. That was it. I didn't want to manage anybody. That was not, where I saw my life going. So then I came out of corporate. So what about you? Because you work for yourself. You have a number of businesses. You work within the coaching space. You work within the networking space. You work within the sales space. You're just so talented in your area. When did you come out of corporate and start working for yourself?
So I came out of corporate right at the end of 2015. And I knew at that point that I was ready to do my own thing. I'd had the opportunity a few years before to kind of take a redundancy package, but I didn't know who I would be in the wide world. I didn't know what my thing was. And my dad, kind of rest his soul, had said to me, James, you'll know when you're ready. You'll know. You're just, that moment, the light bulbs will be on you and go, I know the impact I can make on the world. And I didn't know it the first time round, but end of 2015, I knew. I was in a job where I was leading a team. I was working with other people in the business, and this was Telefonica Europe at this point. So I was working with people across all the European businesses, helping them grow and on their journey, on their career journey, by running training, like talent development programs with them, coaching them along the way, and then working with the different business areas to think about how they structure themselves, how do they operate. And I loved it. I remember sitting in one of the O2 offices up near where I am, near Runcorn in Preston Brook, and I remember sitting at my desk, and I just sat back and thought, I love this. I'm doing all the things that I'm good at, and I know I'm leaving as well. So I'm doing this on the other side. So I was totally ready for it. And I knew, having spent 20 years in a corporate career, I knew I had to leave, and I couldn't just jump from being employee number 4020 to number one.
Right.
And what would my brand be? What would my business be? Who am I as a business owner rather than an employee? So I took a year to just get my head out of corporate life and do some consultancy work and clear myself.
I think when you've been working, so it's funny because I was in a similar situation. So I used to work for Carphone Warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So back in like around 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. And found myself in a similar position where I loved it. I absolutely, they were a great company to work for. They really looked after their people. There were lots of different changes that happened off of the back of the recession. And I'm sure everyone has their sort of niggles about where they work. But I look back on those years and just thought, God, I was so supported. I was grown. They believed in me. And I think working, especially within telecoms, it's been an exciting 20 years to have been involved in that. And when you talk about that, it just really takes me back there to that growth culture. If you was to cut me open, I'm still loyal to Carphone Warehouse. Like I still buy my phones from Carphone Warehouse. I still have connections with people there. I would say, if you cut me open, I would bleed blue. I was so into the culture, and it was there really. I worked for some other, global businesses, and whether I was singing or whether I was training or whatever. But one of the things that I learned from Carphone was culture. How do you grow a culture? And, the stories about how Charles Dunstone, the guy who created Carphone, started by selling car phones, is what they were at the time, out of his boot with his friend. And then they moved into a retail space. And on a Monday, he would take everyone out for a drink. They would call it a beer bus. That moved in as the company grew larger and larger. He used to do that. Everyone could go out, and you get like beer tokens to go like in different places. It was an amazing place to work. And like you say, when you start out on your own, essentially you're that Charles Dunstone, you're that Richard Branson, you're that person who gets to choose in the first instance. What is your brand? How would you stand up in your mission, in your values, in what you deliver, how you deliver it, the platforms on which you deliver it, who you work with? You get to decide. And that's, I think, for me, probably one of the most exciting bits when you're birthing a business is if I always look to the future and go, if I'm working and I've got a team, or I then get franchises, how will they love and why will they love working for, in my case, IATQB Limited, in your case, Momentous or My People Club? How would they love? Isn't that just the most exciting bit?
Oh, completely.
When you start growing in sales and everything starts going off, but choosing that is so important.
It is, totally, because you are your brand, essentially, and it doesn't matter what company name you give it, that has to have meaning so people get it, but you're your brand. And I've worked with so many clients on their, it's not about their brand, but it's about being really aware of what they're saying and what that means to people. So when they're at a networking event and they do their 40-second pitch or their 60-second pitch, when they're having a one-to-one, and when they're just interacting with people, do you remember when we did face-to-face networking?
Oh wow!
when they're interacting, them days, the old normal, I guess. But it's that is your brand. So if I was just going in and just not engaging with people, monotonously telling my 40-second pitch, and not making any sort of eye contact with people, that reflects on my company. People think, well, if I then work with one of your team, are they going to be like you? Whereas if I come at it with energy, I engage my audience, and back to those kind of quadrants of personality, I hit and tick the boxes of the 4 personalities, even in 40 seconds, do it in 20 seconds. Then do you know what? I've got them. I've absolutely got them, and they listen. And and that's for me. If you can master that, and you just hit the right notes, the right eye contact at the right time with the person you want to have a one-to-one with, they'll literally come running at you going, can we swap?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful process, but you've got to have that self-awareness and confidence, because you are your brand. And whether you've got employees or whether you outsource, I've got a VA, obviously I've got kind of an accountant and so on. web guy, they've got their own business, but essentially they're working for you. You're paying them for a service. And, particularly with my people club, when we were asking a lot of, the people doing the website, our VA who was helping us with a load of admin stuff and marketing stuff, we were asking long hours, which we paid for, but we were asking them to go over and above. And we recognized that, we couldn't just be transactional about that. We had to be business owners. We had to be leaders. And so we had to, as well as asking them to do stuff and tracking it with them and catching up with them regularly, we needed to keep them motivated and make them want to work with us. Because at any point they could say, James, Chris, sorry, I can't do this anymore. But they kept with it and they said, I'm on this. I'm all over it. You go away. I get what you want. Leave it with me. I'll have it done by the end of the day. And they're still with us, 18 months on, still working with us. They're still behind our business. They're coming to us saying, I've had this idea of what we could do, and it's brilliant. When you've got other people who are emotionally invested in your business. Great.
It's magic, isn't it?
It is.
Even
totally.
when you're an entrepreneur and you are working with freelancers, I think there's such power in that as well, because they will have experiences by still freelancing. Like if I look at my VA, for example, my incredible VA, Anna Fox, she's just wonderful. And she has a number of other clients who she works with that are in similar spaces.
Yeah.
What she does is she shares what works and best practices that work. And I'm not in competition with anybody, because people are going to come to me for me. It doesn't matter. And she works with other people that are like-minded, other people that are in different areas of business. But what's wonderful is when you work with freelancers, they have such a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experiences that they can bring to you. And it's like when you work for one company, I don't think you have the same kind of like scope all the time, because you're just in that one business. So I find I get really fired up by working with other entrepreneurs.
Oh, totally.
When you meet, like you and I, when you meet and you've both got the same values and you've both got the same kind of mission, it's just a no-brainer then to do a little bit of work together. And
completely. And that's and I've been guilty before of kind of chasing the squirrels and having a lovely conversation with someone, and they're saying, oh, we should do something together. So you start doing something together, and then you find actually you're doing all the work and you're not enjoying it. It's not bringing you great energy, and you're watching them do nothing about this thing that you were due to do jointly together, and you think, well, no, hold on, from more a personal point of view, human point of view, this just doesn't feel right. My gut is saying and my heart is saying this isn't where I should be spending my time and energy. And you just and you've got to have the courage to bring that kind of stuff to a close, and just to say, look, I don't think this is right, because I've learned, if you spend years of your life in the wrong situation, this, obviously way more than I do, you spend your life in a wrong situation, years will whiz by where you're always thinking, I'm going to get out of this situation. I'm going to get out of this situation. You never do.
Not good enough, and you're wasting time.
Yeah, and then suddenly, when you do, and you've got the ability to do it, it's strengthening. It gives you so much emotional power, while still being a wonderful human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me. So there's two businesses that I want to talk about. Momentous is the coaching leg of your business.
Yeah.
So what do you do within that? How do you help people within that? What specifically do you help people with?
I'm going to use an example as well, and it'll be one that you'll get. I help people step back from the noise that's going on in their life, predominantly their professional life. But we have one life. We are one person, so it's a mix of personal and professional. But I help them step back from that noise, take stock of what they really want to be aiming for, and make sure that where they want to be aiming is true to what's important to them and their values. And we set a journey, and then I bulk them up with the confidence and the mojo, which is a great word someone played to me, a client years ago. I gave them the mojo to go out and get it. So I'll give you an example, and some people may know her who are watching today. So Lisa Bailey Brown, who is who was again part of Brad's Now What Club. we had been put together through kind of as an accountability buddy. And so we just got speaking and talking kind of week on week about, you know, where we're trying to get week on week and just helping each other. Yeah. And then in the end, she said, look, actually, you know, I know this is only a few weeks long, but I'd love it if you could coach me or mentor me. I'm not sure which it is, but can you help me? Because I hate where I am. You know, my personal life has its own challenges, and I want to do something different. And I kind of know what I want to do. One of the biggest things for her, to use your terminology, was about showing up. Yes. So she was coming to the Blackpool event, and so she was showing up to it.
1 minute. Well,
yeah.
You need to ask Nanny or Granddad for their help. Go and get it. It's on a 3 and a 1, right? If I give you this one, I've got to placate my child with a screen, which has been my saviour for the entire of lockdown, right? Netflix now. Go on. Here, have this screen.
Done. Sorted. Hey.
101.
Hey, absolutely. I always say there isn't a book of how to be a parent. You learn from other people, and you have your own. So Lisa needed to show up, and she needed to show up to Blackpool. She wasn't on stage. She wasn't doing anything, but she just was absolutely scared of rocking up to a venue with a room full of people who she knew each other to some extent, and to sit at a table with people, to open her mouth and talk about who she was. She was bricking it. I mean, she literally said, like, James, I might back out. You know, I've paid, but I might back out. I worked with her. This would have been a few months before, and I worked with her on her self-confidence, on her self-esteem, on her values, and we talked about that moment, you know, being in Blackpool, walking into the room, being with people. And she said, look, you know, I'm ready for it, but can I meet you beforehand? You know, where are you staying? Can I meet with you? And can I arrive at the venue with you so that I know you're there with me? You know, but I don't want you to hold my hand the whole way, and I don't want to sit with you, but, you know, can you do that? So we did that, and then, you know, she then just unleashed herself to the world of Blackpool in that venue, and she was off. She was, you know, and she embraced herself 100%. I could see her crying at times with people talking and presenting.
She, like, because we were there. It was the one that we were together, and I remember Elise coming along, and she, you know, you could see that she was overwhelmed, but she made it, and she was so proud and so pleased that she was in the room, and she was getting such love from everybody.
Yes,
I don't even think she was expecting that. It's one of the nice things when you get a network of people who really resonate with you, and you do the work with the networks. Networking only works if you do. When you do the work with that, the love that you get and the support that you get is just so incredible. You know, meet people like yourself, and seeing her have that breakthrough in real life, it must have been magic for you as a coach. Because, like, for me as a friend, I was so proud of her.
Yeah. And the nice thing was, she lives in the southwest, and over kind of lockdown, I've been invited to some of the networking meetings that she's a part of. But now she runs. You know, she's running networking meetings. She's out there pushing herself, and, you know, she wouldn't have dreamed of doing that before. And I joined one, and she said, right, I've got my friend James here. You know, James is a coach, and someone, you know, said, is this James, like the James that you were? She was like, this is James. And literally people going, James, we saw a change in Lisa, literally. And she said she was working with you, and we were like, wow. So it was lovely to see that other people saw her transformation. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Help people get ready for that moment and be the best version of themselves to whatever it is.
That is just the most perfect way to describe the magic that you bring to your clients. And it is that kind of magic, and that wealth of knowledge, and that love and that passion that you've got to see people do well. It's just amazing. And I think that, as well as, you know, the years of qualification, the years of knowing the business inside and out, because you get so many people that come through that want to help people, and suddenly they'll stick the label on the head and they go, right, I'm a business coach now. I'm going to teach people how to do business. You know, you've got to have some degree of skin in the game. You've got to have some degree. You can't just come into this world and go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to teach people now. That's great, but you've got to have some sort of, you know, time served to help people in that situation. And you just do it so beautifully. So talk to me about My People Club, because we've done a little bit of work together on My People Club. Another one of your businesses.
Yes. So my People Club it's an online membership business, and it is for people who are in the HR profession. So maybe they're a self-employed consultant, maybe they are in a small to medium-sized business where they are the HR department. They've got to do the recruiting, the firing, the growing, the developing, deal with paternity, maternity issues, grievance, whatever it might be. And they're trying to be the best HR department they can be, and they're scampering around different websites for different documents and resources, different Facebook groups for support from people. And Chris, who's gone through that journey, knew that it was really hard work doing that. And if there was one place you could bring it all together, that would be a winning solution. And that's what my People Club is. It brings it all together. But we realize that, it's not just about HR professionals. We're good with people who are coaches and people who are new into management and need to adopt a coaching style with their people who are trainers. Yes, you can go out and deliver presentation and read off the slides, but actually you've got to think about how you engage, how you organize, how you market yourself. So we've brought our collectively 40 years of expertise together into one place. And then we said, actually, if some of these people are business owners, are self-employed, we're not the experts on marketing, on sales, on safety, on resilience, on showing up, wising up, rising up, on mental health, but actually we know people in our network who are. So if we can bring those experts in to share their expertise through masterclasses, through doing live Q&As with us to our audience and our members, then we are giving them everything in one place. And that's what we launched at the beginning of March, and we've kept it going through this lockdown. We've kept supporting people who have found themselves busy dealing with the backlash and everything that lockdown has brought to business by getting experts in to answer their questions, by giving them...
It's a HR minefield, the whole thing, isn't it?
Totally. I'd never heard of furlough before March 23rd or whenever it was. Right. Chris said, I've got to do a furlough document. I'm like, what on earth is furlough?
It's one of them.
Yeah, what's one of them? Does it grow somewhere? So we've launched that, and it's great. We've got a community on Facebook. We were a bit late in our game on getting onto Instagram, but we're on it now, and talking with people there and growing our community there, and just giving people what they need in one place. The amount of time people can waste finding the right person, finding the right resources,
searching around and around and around.
Yeah.
And you end up
Do you know what? Come here, we've got it. We've got it for you.
It's a one-stop shop. So what's next then for you, my darling? What's coming up? Tell me.
What's coming up? What am I doing? I'm not going to do any more push-ups for a while. I've done 25 days of them. They can rest for a little bit. I've got, it's interesting actually, I've got an intern joining me in June who might also be my 20-year-old son. Coincidence. But he loves business. He's always fascinated by what it means to run a business, to be in business. He loves the fact that we can go for business meetings over dinner and that kind of thing. And
so I could be like ladies that lunch with like my entrepreneurial friends, and we would like go to nice restaurants and stuff and like eat, and we'll be talking. Oh, we're working now. Are we working? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, totally. And it's he'll say, so if this is a business dinner, I can order the big steak, can't I? And I'm like, well, this is still my money, son. Maybe the business. But he's going to come and do some work for me, and it might be primarily more a bit around Momentous and my People Club, but his head is right in the game of research and insight and working out, where are my customers, where are the places I need to show up more than I am now. So I've literally on the whiteboard next to me, I had a really good session yesterday with Caroline Bramwell. And we went through so much stuff, and I've made a list for him, and I've texted him like, are you ready for this?
Are you ready, mate?
Are you ready? Because you're going to be doing some stuff. And so that's going to be great, because then he can bring a new perspective. He knows what I do. He gets it. He's interested in it. And he's going to bring his perspective on it. And, I remember when my dad was around, he said, we talked about, maybe having a father and son business, and it never transpired. It only did on paperwork, sadly, but it never transpired. But one day that would be great. You can dream of handing over the reins, or letting someone bring their thing in and make
helping
it
them grow as well, without being like at the behest of the more vicious business world out there. Because if when you think when they're at school, it's very much like you go to school, you go to college, you go to university, and you go and get a job. That is the kind of the party line. When actually, when you've got parents that are entrepreneurs, one of the nice things is you get to say to them, there are other ways. Don't worry if this isn't, if academia isn't your thing, that's okay. It wasn't my thing. Don't worry.
Yeah.
There are other ways that you can do things. As long as you get savvy about monetizing the things that you're incredible at, then do the thing. Do whatever the thing is. There's someone that's always going to need you and your expertise.
Totally. So I think that's the biggest thing next, is what insight he brings. Going to do a bit of a revamp on Momentous, in terms of getting even clearer on what we're doing. And the session with Caroline yesterday was brilliant. We kind of said, the whole mojo thing is really important. The whole where's my mojo, is going to be a thing, especially right now, coming out of lockdown and furlough.
People have got to stoke the fire again. People have got to work out
totally
what to get excited about, because that's what's going to get them out of bed.
Yes, 100%. So where's my mojo, and something like unleashing your 20%. Where's that extra 20% coming from that is going to help you find that mojo and help you go out there and get people's attention and get them choosing you.
Amazing. Right, James, where can we hang out more? I mean, I know where to hang out with you, because you're my friend. So I get to hang out with you anyway. But can you tell everybody where they can hang out with you and find out more about what it is that you do?
Best way to hang out with me right now is LinkedIn. So you'll find me, James Perryman, with this picture, pretty much as it is. So yeah, please connect with me. I'm on there, and when I'm on there, I'm, it's me, but I'm talking about both my businesses, those principal businesses. On Twitter, you'll find me at James Perryman 1, number 1. And again, and I'm going to apologize now. I've not been on Twitter much recently because I've been doing it more from my businesses.
I'm not even apologizing. Like I'm looking at getting someone in to do Twitter. Twitter just seems like the political place and the place where the journalists hang out, which is great.
Yes.
If you want in PR and what have you, which is fantastic. Yes. I'm not like Facebook and Insta are like that's where I hang.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, connect with me on Facebook as well. My connections on Facebook are now 2/3 business orientated than rugby friends or family and friends. But yeah, Facebook, Twitter, James Perryman 1, LinkedIn. Let's start the conversation there.
Amazing. So feel free, James, in the comments on this live once we close it off, pop the links in so people can come and check you out.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Please do, you guys. James is an awesome person to just have in your circle and have in your space and have in your world. And I'm so grateful to have you in my world, my darling.
And you, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning, James Perryman, everybody, and the crowd go wild.